Hey friends, I was playing with something this morning. This is my little sketchbook I share with you occasionally. And over the weekend, I was kind of thinking about my girlfriend. I was like, gosh, I haven't talked to her in a little bit. She's my best friend and she lives up in Seattle. And I thought I'm going to make her a little card. I do this quite often to the point that if people ever receive a regular card from me, they're like, excuse me, what is this? So warning, if you start painting your cards for friends and family, they're going to love it so much they're going to be disappointed if you send them a store-bought card. Anyway, so I'm going to paint. One of you brought to my attention this little primrose. I thought was so cute. It's tiny. They kind of remind me the way they grow like a, what are they called? The ones with the soft leaves. I think they're like a violet, something like that. But anyway, so I am going to show you how to draw this little cutie, and we're going to do it on a card. And I want to invite you, while I'm going to be drawing, let's get drawing actually. So let me back up a bit. I'll go through my supplies in case you want to follow along with me. You probably have a lot of these, or use what you have. If you don't want to hear about supplies, just fast forward. You won't hurt my feelings. But this is kind of my little sketch I did. I made some notes. It's got 5 petals. There's a slight separation. And I noticed their leaves were really crinkly or veiny. So anyways, and they have these yellow centers. So I'm going to show you how to draw that, or how I would draw it. You know, I like my guidelines. And let me put this over to the side so I can kind of look at that. I'm going to be painting on these Strathmore cards. I love these. I buy boxes of them, and for years I have used these. They're a great 140-pound cold press. I'll put the link below that I used last time I bought them. I buy them in large quantities, so you may not want to buy them in that larger quantities. They also come with this really pretty envelope that I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but it's got this beautiful little like torn edge. I love that. I've even painted on the front, although this is not necessarily watercolor paper, so be careful if you do that. Okay, so I'm going to draw and paint on one side of this, and I'll kind of show you how I drew these out. So the supplies I'm going to be using, I'm going to use my number 8 round. These are currently sold out, and I'm hoping they will bring those back. We'll see. That was my little custom set. I've also got my paints here, my Mylang student palette. You know, I love. I mean, look at these colors, guys. How can you not love these? I'll link these below too, by the way. And okay, so I've got those all sprayed there. I'll set those to the side, let those activate up. And I'm using my Pearl Wing pencil, which I lost my little eraser. So I've got my Mitsubishi eraser here I'll use. I've got my palette. I'm going to get my colors in there, get them going. And I've got my 2 containers of water. Really important with your watercolors. One side to wash, one side to rinse. Super duper important. This is the Mead palette. I love it. I used plastic containers for years and was always dumping them. And it just, when I clean it up, it looks so pretty on my desk. And of course, have your paper towel for dabbing and blotting and things like that. Okay, so today, like I said, I'm going to do something about missing my girlfriend, and I'm going to send her, I'm going to paint a girlfriend card. I love that. And I'm going to paint her a little primrose, which, by the way, one of you sent that to me and said, you should paint a primrose. So thank you for that person. So let's get started, and hopefully she doesn't watch this. Okay, so I'm going to kind of do a composition with my flowers in the center, and then the leaves are kind of spreading out, so it almost looks like a little bouquet looking down on it. So here go my guidelines. I'm going to start with, and I'm going to draw a little bit darker than I maybe normally would. so you can see it, and draw 5 guidelines. Hopefully she's not watching because I want it to be a surprise. And then I'll draw one here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to draw those in first, and then we will get going. So a couple things I noticed on the Primrose. When I do a flower, I always just try to, you know, get the recognizable traits of a Primrose. And like I said, I noticed they just, in the petals, they're quite round, and they just have this tiny separation. So when I looked at them online, they make a circle, but it's actually all individual little petals. And they're quite wide. So I'm just going to draw those in. They really kind of remind me of a, I don't know, a little violet, I guess. So I'll do this again here, making them quite wide. So these guidelines, you guys, they save me like that. So if I had a circle, they'd almost be taking up the whole circle. Oop. There we go. So they have this little separation, which I did. Now I'm going to go in, and actually I'll just roll over that with, and I'll do a kit for you guys for this so that you can see kind of how I draw these out. We'll do a swatch, which I'll share with you in just a second. So these are really great just to lighten up your pencil marks. So now that I have that, I'll do another one right here. As you know, I love my 3s. There we go. Kind of tuck that behind. And try and vary the size of these so it's interesting. Oop, I curled that in again. There we go. So we've got another one there. And then let's add in some leaves. So you want the leaves to kind of composition-wise just cradle it and hold it. So it's like, here's the star and here's all the leaves, just kind of dancing around it, making it beautiful. And the leaves were, I found different leaves actually. I did notice they have tons of little veins in them. So I just want to create some of those. And again, they're kind of just cradling these little flowers. Let's make a flower stand kind of in the background here. Just tucked in there, kind of peeking out. And how about we do a big leaf here, like that. And maybe a flower, or let's do a leaf here. I'd love to see pictures if you guys have any of these. And maybe a flower poking out here. There we go. I didn't know these were an Irish thing either. And here's a little fun fact for you. In floriography, which, does anybody know what that is? That is the language of flowers. I thought that was really cool. So primroses represent like this deep love, this commitment. And I really liked that because we're all about the love here, right, guys? Let's do a little flower here. In the Victorian era, they were given to symbolize young love. I thought that was kind of cool. I just loved that word too. I hope I'm saying it right. Floriography. I thought that was pretty cool. So I've got one tucked in there. Just kind of have them peeking out. Let's do one here. And then I'm adding in those little leaves. Make sure you do put some in the middle too. Oh, and in Japanese culture, which is kind of cool because my friend is really into Japanese culture, they symbolize adoration and like a first love. So I thought that was pretty cool too. She's going to love that. There we go. Just kind of filling in here. So I feel like I need to come down here a little bit. So just, you know, you can kind of squint and see where you might need more flowers. Maybe one here. And just add those in. I mean, how cute is that? She's gonna love this. She always says she loves getting a card from me. So there we go. I think that's pretty good right there. They're also, I believe, primroses, when I was kind of reading up on them last night, they're one of the first flowers to bloom in spring. So I thought that was kind of cool. And now I'm just going to roll over it with this handy dandy kneaded eraser. So I might have to go tell Ray we need to go and look for those at the nurseries because they're a really cute little plant. And hopefully they're hardy in California here. Gets a little warm here. There we go. There we go. And I thought it was interesting. The person, one of you that told me about these, you actually mentioned they were an Irish thing. And I thought it was really cool. In Irish folklore, the primroses were put in the doorway to protect the home from fairies. So I loved that. I love the little mystical things like that. I think they're so, so cute. And in Scottish, I think, folk tales, they ate them. I mean, how cute is this? They ate primrose as an opening to seeing fairies. So Irish, they put them in the doorway to protect the home from fairies. In Scottish, they actually ate them as a key to the fairy sightings. I thought that was so, so cool. And I think I also read primrose patches of them in the garden were put in the gateways of the gardens, and they were like this entrance to the fairy world. So I thought all those things were so magical and mystical that it was really cool. I saw there's all different colors of these, so I think I'm going to use, let's see, what do I want to use? What colors? I did notice a lot of them have that yellow center, which I thought was really cool. Of course, I'm going to go for, let's see, let's look at our swatch here. I think I want to go with red matter's pretty, deep magenta's pretty. I think I'll go for that deep magenta. So let's find that because, of course, you know, that's my favorite color. Let's just see what color that is. I'm going to put it in my, ooh, that's pretty. So it's like a red, kind of a pinky red. Let's see what other color we have. Let's try this one. See what that is. That's a deep dark red. Not quite. That's a little too warm for me. Let's see. Let's see what this is. That's an orangey red. We'll find it here. I suppose we could just go for our good old rose red. You know, I always love that. I think that's what I'll do. I'm just going to go ahead and go in for that rose red. And you know, truly make this yours. Like you can make it whatever color you want. But I did notice in pictures that they had a lot of pink, red, red and yellow, yellow, purple and yellow, even white. Maybe we'll try and do one of these white. That might be fun. Okay, so let's go in here. Now I can do these two ways. I can go in, tap, 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 and I'm using the point of my brush and the side of my brush for that width. So coming in here, ooh, look at that color. Oh, there's just something about painting with watercolors, you guys. I love the feel. I love the look. I know I say this a lot, but it's so true. And I hope you guys are going to join me in this. If you're part of my Patreon, because YouTube, you can't post pictures, post a picture of your girlfriend card in there. And maybe we could do this even more often and like, what's your girlfriend card going to be this month? I think that would be really fun. So I've painted, I've left in all these white spaces. Now let's go into our yellow. I've got some yellow in my palette here, and be careful because that yellow, any CAD colors are always going to be just a bit saturated. So I'll go right in the center here. Ooh, look at that. Always kind of my favorite combo is that yellow and that pink. I love that. There we go. We could go in on the outer edges and just tap in a tiny bit. So I just went in really lightly. You don't ever want to really go into your paints with the tip of your brush, but I'm just hardly putting any pressure. So, oops, stuck my finger in my paint. So I'm going to go in there and just dot in here and there. Look at that. See how it just spreads? How fun is that? And it's just going to create a little interest here. There we go. So you don't need a lot of liquid wetness on your brush because you're already going into the wet. So I'm going to leave that be. Let's go into, I've got some tree green here. So let me just put, I just filled this up with tubes, so it's quite soft. I'm going to put that in there. There we go. Get that ready. And then I think that one is, I think I might have a little bit of Hooker's green in there. That one too. So let's get that activated because I like using different colors. So these are about 50-50. Tap, tap, tap. And let's go in and just create this. And I'm almost kind of hoping it blends with my flowers. So not too much liquid on there. Tap, tap, tap. Look at all that comes off. And let's go in. Point, press, widen out that belly. There we go. And I even left some white space in there. But look how it spread with the pink. Point. Now, because this sleeve's so wide, I'm really going to spread out and use the side of my brush. So point, light pressure, more pressure, use the side of my brush. Look at how my brush is spreading out there. And I'm actually even tapping into my flower. I'm totally okay with that. While it's wet, I might just add in little bits of our emerald green there. Oop. There we go. Just to get some interest. You can just tap in. And when you tap in, like just walk away and leave it. Here's another little leaf over here. If you have too much liquid on your brush, just tap it off. Look how beautiful these colors are. Oh my gosh, she's going to be so excited. By the way, I said we'll try a little white primrose. Actually, the white ones, I just remembered this, they kind of symbolize sadness or mourning. And the red ones, or the pink ones, I would suppose, symbolize that passion, charm, love. So I thought that was pretty cool. All right, let's do this one here because that one is wet. So I'll go into that pink again. There we go. And we're just going to do the same thing, point, press, but I'm using my brush kind of sideways there. And then leaving some white space in the middle. I'm going to add in just a bit more pink to that. There we go. So I use the width of my brush to get that width, and then I go back and use a light touch and my brush more vertical for that tip. And that lets me kind of form out the edges and such. There we go. Go in there. And as you see, I'm leaving lots of white space in there. because I want to dab in that yellow. So wash, rinse my brush, tap it off. We'll go back into our yellow. Might add a little more water to that. Tap, tap, tap. You don't need as much water because you're dry in the white spot, but if you have too much water, it's really going to go crazy because you've got wetness already here. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? And actually, if I wanted to create a little light value here, I could go in and just, with a dry brush, pick up a little bit of that. Let's go into our pink and dab in around those edges. Just create some fun interest like that. And I'll kind of let that sit and spread. How cute is this? And I love these colors together. That tree green and the pink, I think, is so beautiful. And make sure, if you are part of my Patreon, like, post these. I'd love to see what you're sending to your friends. I'm actually going to go in. Let's try and do this one maybe in white. So what I'll do is I'm going to wet first. I'll just wet that little flower, just damp, no puddles. I'm kind of avoiding the pink. And then what I'm going to do is I have the tiniest bit of Payne's Gray or coal black here. I mean, look at how light a value that is, guys. I might even add barely a little more in. Just a tiny, because I want it to look like the shadow on a white one. So then I'll go in, just tap that in, and just a little bit, because this is more of a shadow. Keeping in mind too, when watercolors dry, they're going to be lighter. And then in the very center, I'll add in that yellow, because actually the yellow in the center was quite vibrant. So see how that looks like a little white flower peeking out? Then I'll do that one white as well. So there's a little bit more of that, maybe even over here. All right, let's go in and we'll paint this one with that pink. Tap, tap, tap as I pick up my paint. And we'll do the same thing here. Oh my gosh, she is gonna love this card. I hope you guys do this too, because it really means a lot to people when they know, you took the time to kind of sit and paint and think about it, so much more than a store-bought card. So there we go. And now I'll tap in with a little bit darker pinks. Just get some interest there. Look how cute the little white one is. There we go. Painting white flowers can be a little tricky because I don't really think there's, white has colors in it. Sometimes they're purples, greens. Okay, let's go into the center there. So pick up my paint, tap, tap, tap. It's so funny because even tap, 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 but look at how much keeps coming out. So make sure you are tapping your brush off. And then, especially when you're going into wetness already on your paper. I'm going to pick up a little bit more of that dark pink. Maybe around the edges. And then let it go. Let it do its thing. I think I'll make this one that white color. So I'm wetting my flower first instead of going wet into dry because I want it to be really soft. We could even, excuse me, take the tiniest bit of that black. Have a frog in my throat. That's too dark, so I want to lighten that up with some water. And just the lightest touch. Go in and create some little folds. This is dry now. There we go. And it just gives it the illusion that there's some folds in the petal. And then we'll go back in the center too. So wash, rinse my brush, tap it off. Just a little bit of water you want on there. You just want to lay down shine, not any puddles. And I'm going to make this one composition wise. I'm going to make it that gray as well. So I'll just barely tap in with such a light value here. Like that. You can almost hardly see it. And then yellow in the center. Tap, tap, tap. Look at all that comes off my brush. Oh, so cute. Oh my gosh. Yeah, we're definitely going to be making a trip to the nursery because I want to see these. I'm going to just damp brush, pick that up. I also, one thing I noticed about these when I looked at them online is they almost have like a little star in the middle. So we're going to do that when these dry. Oh, this one's dry. So I'll go into my green and I'm picking up quite a thick mixture and I'm just going to tap in the middle. Oh, look at that. Oh my gosh, you guys, I hope you try this. I love it. And here, these are just the cutest little flowers. Okay, let's do this one in that pink. Back to my pink here. I'm going to add a little bit more in here. I hope you're doing this with me. How fun is this? I love sharing art. I read in another culture too that Primrose brings really good fortune and kind of wards off the evil spirits, so to speak, if you believe in that kind of thing. I think it's just fun to play with the concept. Don't know if I really believe there's horrible evil spirits. I love the fairy metaphor though. I think that's adorable. Of course. Okay, so notice I leave some of that white space in there. And then I'll go in with a little darker, thicker value of that pink. See that? It's about 80% and it's a little thicker, but I'm still tapping off my brush. And just kind of go in, add some here and there because you don't want the whole thing to be the same value, right? That's kind of boring. And actually the one that's under is going to be maybe even a little darker. So kind of do that like it's shadowed. There we go. And now with a pretty dry yellow, tap off all that liquid, we can go in to the center. Oh my gosh, this is so fun. Okay, let's do some of these leaves that are kind of framing our adorable little primrose. There we go. Point press, side of my brush. And again, I don't mind if it goes in to our little flowers a little bit. I think this one I want to make a little darker. So I'm going to pick up a tiny bit of olive green. And look at the beautiful contrast. So I'm going to make this a darker value because I really want it to pop out that little white primrose underneath. So see what happens when I darken and create that contrast? It really makes that little white flower pop out, which I love. There we go. And here's another one we could do kind of darker. Tapping off, always tapping off. There we go. And maybe that olive green again. Tap off. Leaving some white in there. So look at how that really popped it out. I think I'll do this one, that darker green as well. because we've got a white flower here. So I really want to make that pop. And then we'll do this one in our tree green. Oh, I love the My Lane colors. If you're a beginner, I just think those My Lane colors are so fantastic because you've got so much to think about when you're a beginner and you're already like kind of criticizing yourself and like, can I really do this? Am I really an artist? Which I'm going to remind you again, I say it all the time. Yes, you are an artist, all of you. There we go. So I made that one a little darker green again, so it pops out that. I'm going to go into the middle of the white one. All right, we've got one. Look how pretty, you guys. Is she going to be so excited? I almost feel like I need a little dark leaf right here. Let's do that. Point, press, kind of going rogue a little bit. So see, this is where practicing those brush strokes is so great and valuable because you want to be able to create those little thin lines that I just drew on there. So you want to know what that light pressure feels like. I'm going to go into the center. Let's see here, with a little bit of that green, a little bit of that green. And I used a light touch just to kind of pull it out. Didn't mean to use that dark green in there, but that's okay. And we have one more flower here. I think I'll do that one white too because I like my threes. And we still need to do this leaf here right in the middle. So let's do this one. Damp brush. I rinsed it, patted it off. So we're just going to lay down a light shine of water here. Just dampening that a little bit more. These cards, they're cold press and all, but they don't quite stay wet as long as some of your other papers. And then I'm barely picking up, like you guys, this is the lightest value of gray. Because you don't want it to be the color of your flower. You just want it to resemble little shadows. And that's it. And maybe this one is shadowed more because it's going to be under that leaf. So maybe that side. So, I mean, you can barely see that. Clean off my brush, go into the center, tap, tap, tap. And leave that be. Isn't that so fun? I am going to go into the center of this one with a little thicker of that yellow. Just tap in, and then once that dries, we'll go in with a little bit of that green. I'm really wish I hadn't done that olive green, but you know what? We're going to love it. We're going to learn to love it. Oops, I forgot I had yellow on my brush. Didn't mean to put yellow. Ooh, but that's kind of cool. So remember too, like how fun is that? You can always lift, and it's so fun. Look at the highlights you can get. I always forget that technique. I'm going to darken up underneath here so we have that beautiful contrast. Oh, you know what we could do too? It's kind of late now for some of these, but I could have used, let me grab my little, here it is. You could also use a little stylus I have around here somewhere and scratch in. Ooh, that's interesting. But your paintings have to be, you know, it has to be a little wet. So I've already, a lot of these have dried. So it's not going to work. But look how, oh my gosh, you guys, I am loving this. Look at that. So if you have a little credit card, a little stylus, let's see, I might have a stylus here so you know what I'm talking about. Let me look. I used to keep, oh yeah, I do. I'm always finding fun little art supplies in my cabinet. So the point of these are you can do this scratching in. Now, Maybe when I do this one or this one, I'll show you. So you can use a palette knife. You could use anything sharp, even these little styluses. Let's go ahead and paint this leaf. Let's see what color. I think I want to make that one tree green. Point press. We'll see, because you want that we want that contrast, but we don't want it to take away from our beautiful flowers. And then I'll tap in some of that olivey green. Tap, 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 tapping off my brush. So it looks like it's underneath all of this. And it's coming right up against that white one. I'm going to pick up some of that. So if you do go onto your paper with too much water, you can always do what I just did and just kind of tap on. Lift with a thirsty brush. So that's kind of a boring leaf to me. That's where I want to go in. Let me rinse my brush until I get all that green out. There we go. By the way, not to digress too much, but let me show you something real quick. Where is it? Hold on, guys. Shoot. Hold on. Here it is. You guys I've had several of you ask me about a brush cleaner. I don't do it real often, but I'd say probably every few weeks. I just put my brushes in here and swish them around like that. And then if I'm done using the brush, I will shape it into a point and just let it sit. If I'm still using my brush, you just rinse and wash it really well and you're ready to go. Really helps and conditions your brush. So I'll try to remember to put my link down below. The Masters brush cleaner, I've used that for years and it's really good. All right, back to our little leaf. I'm going to use the stylus and look at that. Really popped that leaf out, right? Okay, we have one more here. Let's go into our green. There we go. And I actually feel like I need to add a little bit darker to that because it is under. So it's going to be a little shadowed, and then I'll use that stylus again. I really want that contrast since it's next to that white leaf. Now, if I wanted, I could lift some of this. Ooh, look at that. That lifting just gives so much depth. Okay, let's go into, let's do our veins. Oops, I'm going to use that smaller edge. I think I got this whole pack for like $10 or something. Create some little veins. I noticed their leaves were really veiny. Look at that. Isn't that so pretty? We'll go in and create our little yellow center. Like that. All right, we're about done. The last thing I think I want to do is just add in a little bit more detail to that flower. Just very light pressure. And this is why it's so important to protect that tip, because you don't want that tip all mashed. You want to be able to use it to create these really fine lines like that. Now, if that is too sharp a line, just take a damp brush and soften it out a bit. Just go right over it, but barely with a damp brush, and you'll soften that line up. I'm going to just shadow a tiny bit under here, just so it looks like it's shadowed from being under there. And soften that line. I'm trying not to necessarily touch that yellow, but yep, there she goes. That's okay. All right, so we're about done, you guys. How fun was that? You could go in and create some darker values here and there if you really wanted to. Not necessarily have to. Just to create some more interest. So I'm just picking up a darker value of that pink, meaning I've probably got 80% pigment, 20% water. See how much more saturated? Tap, tap, tap. And go in and just pull out some of these petals. Just for some interest. See how that popped out some areas? Maybe this one. I don't want to get too picky. You know, I like as least amount of strokes I can create something, the better for me. I'm going to add the tiny, tiny, tiny little spot of green in the center there. Like that. That one's wet. That one's wet, so I don't want to do that. But I think we're good here. I feel like I want to darken the value of that one. So I'm going to grab, just for contrast, because these three are all kind of the same color. So let's pick up a darker value of that tree green. Tap, tap, tap. And I'm going to go in. So see how much more interesting that is when I made that a different color and value than the two next to it. And now since we wet it, we can actually go in with our little stylus. And again, you can use a credit card, whatever you have. Oh my gosh, you guys, I love this. Love, love, love. So fun. She's going to just love this. So there you go. Make sure and share your girlfriend card. I'd love to hear who you send yours to. I'm going to send mine. She's my best buddy. And I invite you to do this as well. And maybe a week or so, let's all check back and see what your friends thought about it. And definitely if you're on Patreon, you can share your pictures. And you guys keep in mind my Patreon. It's there's a free level as well, so check it out. You know, try that level out, see what you think. We're having a lot of fun there. I think I might, no, you know what, she likes real clean and simple, so I'm not even going to put any splatters or anything because I think she's going to like that. So maybe I'll even post a poll in Patreon, and I think we might be able to do it on YouTube as well. And I want to hear what your friends thought of this. So I'm going to let this dry, fold it. You guys will love these Strathmore cards. And going to maybe put one little flower on the outside. And I'm going to send that to her. I hope you guys join me. So much fun. Love this. And I can't wait to hear what you guys do with yours, as well as see you here on YouTube. Nothing's changing here. The Patreon is just if you want to go a little deeper, have a little bit closer connection. But thank you so much for being here. You guys make this so fun for me. And I love sharing these things. Love hearing your stories where you're like, oh my gosh, I have confidence. I played. I love my hot messes and my oopsies. And I'm seeing my style. So much fun, you guys. All right, I will see you soon. Love you guys, and let's keep having fun. I'm going to be right here reminding you, you are an artist. You are an artist. So let's keep playing together, and I'll see you soon. Happy painting.